perfectly backwards. I'm glad you popped in. So today you're going to get a tour of our homeschool room. And the fun thing about this video is that every homeschool room is completely different. You can homeschool at your kitchen table. You do not have to have a homeschool room. You can have a small space, a big space. It could be in the basement. It can be anywhere that works for your family. If you're like me, you might be watching these videos to kind of get some ideas on what might work for your homeschool space, or you might be watching these videos and you're not even a homeschooling mom yet. You're just trying to picture how this would fit in your life, if it could fit in your life. And of course the answer is yes to both of those questions. If you feel like it is meant to be and that you're supposed to do this, then absolutely it will work because you want it to. So just a little bit of breathing some confidence into you, because I know when you're first starting to think if this is right for your family, it can be so overwhelming. So as I do a little tour of our homeschool room, I want you to keep that in mind. Everybody's space looks totally different. What works for each child in the environment that they personally need is different. So just remember that whatever works for you and your kids is what's going to be perfect, okay? So a couple things before I actually start on the tour here is I have only been homeschooling my two boys. We actually have 5 kids, but 2 of them are homeschooled, my 2 youngest. My oldest is out of the house, and then I have a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school, and then we have a 5th and 6th grader, and those are the 2 that I'm homeschooling. Side note, absolutely yes, I wish I would have started homeschooling a long time ago, but I am also fully aware that I was a totally different person then, totally different mom, probably wouldn't have been successful. So I am just grateful that I have this opportunity to homeschool these 2 boys. But when I first got started, again, we just started this school year, it was so overwhelming in the beginning, and I literally decided to homeschool like a couple weeks before school started. So we pretty much just jumped in. And so on top of choosing curriculum, I had to figure out, where am I going to do this? What space do I have available to be able to homeschool these boys? And took a couple things into consideration. Number one, my husband is a police officer, so he sleeps during the day. I had to keep that in mind. He really honestly sleeps through just about everything, but I did want to keep that in mind, that if we were going to be noisy during the day, is that going to work for him? The other thing that I had to keep in mind is that I do have 2 kids that aren't homeschooled, right? And so I didn't want to just take over our dining room. And we actually don't have a dining room in our house. We just have the kitchen area, and so that wasn't going to work. I also didn't want it to be a space that was necessarily the first thing that you saw when you come home. We have a front room in our house that like is right off of, when you walk in the front door, it is right off to the side. So I didn't want that to be the first thing that people saw. So I realized, you know what, we have this loft space upstairs, and you can actually see behind us, it's just, that's actually the master bedroom, right there. That's actually the master bedroom. So we have learned that my husband actually sleeps through everything really well. But this is just the hallway that leads to my kids' bedroom. So this is just a small loft, and it works perfectly for our homeschool space. So finding a spot that works in your house. I have a friend who has, their basement has turned into their homeschool area. A lot of people might think the basement, it's dark and gloomy down there, and it's not. She has made it into a really neat homeschool space. I have friends that just homeschool at their kitchen tables. It's really whatever works for your family. So the next question that I want to tackle is, do you really want a space that reflects a typical schoolhouse, or do you want just your the decor that runs throughout your home to be present in your homeschool space? And that's one of those things that I kind of toy with. I want a mixture of both. Me, for instance, I love having the fun, bright colors of a schoolroom, but I also don't want it to look like a schoolhouse right in the middle of our home. And so I've kind of blended the two. It's kind of like a hybrid schoolroom situation where we do have maps on the wall, and we have, you can't see it right now, but during the tour, we have our president's poster, we have whiteboards, we have all of that, but I've tried to make it to where it's also a cozy home space as well. So that works for us now. I am also fully aware that it's going to change. You know, as the boys get older, it might change. Maybe we'll end up at the kitchen table one day, who knows? But for now, this space works really well. I also was on a tight budget when we first started. I had just quit my job when we decided to homeschool, and so we were getting used to having less income. So it was really important for me to spend the bulk of our budget on the curriculum that I had chosen for the boys. But then I also really wanted a nice space for us to feel productive and excited to be in. I am a big believer of your space has to be a welcome place to work. Now that doesn't mean that it should cost a lot of money. That just means pay attention to the details, because if you want to be in that space, you're going to want to work in that space. So we have changed some things over time, just learning what our homeschool needs were as we went. We've had to change things up a little bit, but I just wanted to start by saying, you know what, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't have to have like an entire room dedicated for homeschool. This can really work for whatever your specific family needs are. So with that, I am going to start our tour. Okay, so I am videoing on my iPad here, so hopefully it comes up good enough. But you can see this is just our loft space. All right, so you just walk down this hallway, and it's not a very big space, but it works for what we need. So up here on the wall, we do have just kind of a fun area that we can put paintings or fun little things. We do have a clock because I was noticing that we were always trying to think about what time it was. I didn't even have my phone on me all the time, so we did put a fun little schoolhouse clock up there. And then I do have 2 whiteboards. So just a little bit here on the wall. I love this sign right here that has Albert Einstein's on it. This is my goal in homeschooling, is to teach these boys how to think. I feel like in public school they're losing that skill of how to think through something. So it says, education is not the learning of facts, it's rather the training of the mind to think. I love that. And then our school day schedule. And then, of course, some fun Dr. Seuss. Yes, they're 5th and 6th grade, but you guys, it's still fun. So, and then I have 2 whiteboards because we started with one and realized very quickly that that was not enough. And then over here, we have our grading scale, scientific method there we're working on in science a little bit. Down here, we have the U.S. presidents. One of my kids is just kind of a factoid. He just loves facts of all kinds. He carried a dictionary with him all through like 4th and 5th grade, or not 5th, he's 5th now, but all through 4th grade last year, just because he loved the dictionary. So, and then I just have a couple things here. I have this cart that just basically these top two drawers right here. That's what I use to put the boys' schoolwork in. So if they have science worksheets or anything, they can find them in there. So the pom-poms, funny story about the pom-poms here. I realized about a couple months in that I needed a classroom management system, and so we came up with pom-poms because we're kind of a spicy family, so we like to throw things a lot. And so when the boys do something great or answer questions well, they get a pom-pom thrown at them, and then when they fill up that jar, they get a special activity. So right now they are actually working towards root beer floats, so that'll be fun. Each one of the boys just has a cabinet here. They can store whatever they'd like in there, but generally that's where their Bibles go and their books that they're reading. And then down here we have a basket that's it's got a few books in there, but this is also serves as our library basket so that we don't constantly go looking for missing books. It doesn't have library books in it right now. We are on spring break. I do have just a cute little reading corner here. And then this space, I'm sorry if this video is so jumpy, but this space is just our storage unit. Got the printer, all of our books here. These are all of the books that we are working out of currently, and then all of the answer keys, things like that. And then this is where we have our computer set up. The boys do math on that, and then any research and anything like that. And then down below, I just have all of our storage for things, arts and crafts, curriculum that hasn't been pulled out yet, special science things, stuff like that. And then over here, up on the wall, we have this beautiful sign that my friend Shea made for me. And then we do have the United States map, another place to hang paintings and things like that. Over there is Bradley's desk area. Now you see the bin below, and that's where he keeps all of his curriculum books that he is working on at the moment. And then they have a little jar of pens and pencils, and then their work that has been corrected, I just put on their desk right there, and they know to go through it in the morning And then anything that they have questions on, they can ask questions on, and then it goes back in their bin. So then you have my desk space. I don't use it often. I sit there when the boys are doing their work, and maybe I'll do some, work while they're working, but don't use it very often. Use it for grading and planning, things like that, but it's not like I sit there all day. And then Angel's space, Lucky Duck, gets right out, gets to look out the window, right? So overall, it's a pretty simple homeschool space. It does its job, right? Doesn't have to be anything fancy. So that's kind of our homeschool room tour. Hope you guys enjoy what you've seen today. Someday I'll show you what's all inside those bins. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your Monday.